Greetings. This will be my second video on the YouTube, and just trying to get used to this whole thing. Consume a lot of content on YouTube, but I've never been a creator, so we'll see how this goes. I've been calling myself Mag, like a magazine. Mag of Cascadia, tuning in from the foothills of the Cascades. I'm gonna cook some venison. Oh, I went rafting in the northwestern part of the Pacific Northwest yesterday with my buddies for my buddy Blake's bachelor party. We rafted down it's called the Sock, they call it the Sock River. It was extraordinarily beautiful. I mean, it was cold and rainy, but very, very beautiful. That whole area is like God's country, I'll tell you what. Those mountains up there, holy smokes. But I just wanted to tune in, kind of get some stuff off my chest. So we went rafting, had some really cool rafting guides. There's three rafting guides. There's an old hippie guy named Shane, real cool guy. You know, just what do you think? Just the hippiest of hippie. There was a really tall Native American fellow named Kevin, kind of quiet, but he seemed pretty cool. And then there was another fellow named Doug who didn't really say much, younger guy. But after we did our little rafting, it was like a six-hour trip, something like that. After we did that, we went to a brewery. Cheers, by the way. Woo, Papa made a little stiff. But yeah, so we went to a brewery and we sat down and had some beers and had some pizza. I had a sandwich, it was really good. But anyways, to get to the point, I want to title this video Ethnomasochism. And ethnomasochism is I would say at this point, at this stage in Western society, it's an ideology. It's kind of like the underlying ideology of a lot of Westerners, you know, from anywhere in the West, anywhere in the Anglosphere, and even into, you know, anywhere in Western Europe. They kind of suffer from this very pathological ideology. But ethnomasochism is the deriving pleasure from putting your own people down, from hurting your own people, from hating your own people. It's this sick pleasure in basically talking shit about your own people. And I've seen it a million times throughout my life. It's been heavily pushed by academia, the media, you know, entertainment, news, popular science, popular history. I mean, pretty much anywhere where there's Western folks, this ideology has been very heavily pushed in our society. And so we're sitting there and we're drinking beers and having a good old time. And Kevin, the Native American fellow, out of nowhere, decides to tell us a story of his tribe. And he tells us this story about how the white folks up there where we were at, where they apparently, you know, it's the same story that the US government is fucking everyone, like they always do, you know. They they stole their land. They said they could have land. They gave them, it was like the Homestead Act, and they said they'd give them 40 acres and a mule or something like that. And but they pulled some trickery and then confiscated all the natives' land after the natives didn't adhere to the rules of like planting a garden and fencing it off. Like there's all these stipulations that the Homestead Act required. There were stipulations, regarding it. And so he tells us a story of the natives getting their land stolen, and then he tells us how. And this guy, I don't know if it was genuine or not. I couldn't really tell. I don't really know him, I don't really think it was genuine. It didn't come across as genuine. But he tells us a story about how the natives were tricked out of their land, and then the white folks, they fed the chief his son, apparently. This is what he told us. He told us that they had a big cookout, and they asked the chief, "Hey, did you like this your meal? Did you like the meat? Was it delicious?" And he said, "Oh yeah, it was very delicious." And they said, "Well, that was your son." And this guy starts like crying, kind of, he's pretending to wipe tears from his face and chokes up and everything. And everyone at the table is like, what the hell are you supposed to say? And then from then on out, for the rest of the evening, it was full on a white guilt trip. And the old hippie Shane just went on and on about how he read about this history when he was younger, and how ashamed he is to be a white man. And as I've gotten older and I've matured more, I've learned, especially in the presence of elders, that it's a lot more wise to listen rather than talk. I meet a lot of young guys who, they're in the presence of elders or more successful older men, and they just won't shut the fuck up, and they just talk, and they don't really have a lot of life experience to even say most of the stuff that they're saying. And so I didn't say anything at all. And like I said, as I've gotten older, I matured, and I realized that everyone has a different opinion about all sorts of things, and if it's not a close friend or family, I usually don't comment too much about people's opinions about X, Y, or Z, whatever. These guys were old. These guys were in their 60s. The Kevin and Shane. So I'm not gonna really convince them otherwise. I'm probably never gonna meet them again in my life. So I don't really care what they think, and I'm not gonna convince them that their ideology is broken and is whack, and I disagree with it in every metric. But yeah, so they go on this just total white guilt, speech of just hating the white man. Just so evil. We're so evil. We're so bad. Look at what we've done. We're so bad. And I just, I was looking at my buddies, because we obviously don't agree, and I kind of let them. There was like kind of a pause in their little speech, and I just said, "Hey, I hope you guys have a great night. We gotta go. I got a long way to drive home, and thank you so much. I'll see you around." And it ended right there, and I shook their hand. And I even told the Native American guy, I said, "Hey, thanks for sharing your story, your experience, your lore from your tribe. I want to be respectful, and I do respect the Native peoples of the First Nations, or whatever they call them. But full stop. We conquered this land, and I'm never in a million years going to teach my children to be ethnomasochists. I will never teach them to hate our tribe and our people and our folk." So yeah, this is kind of what I wanted to get on YouTube here and release a video and kind of get some stuff off my chest. There's my dog. There's Yodi. Say hi, Yote. Hey, Yodi boy. Yeah, I'm cooking. I'm not gonna touch you. I don't know where you've been, boy. You've been rolling around in dead shit for all I know. But yeah, it was just I wanted to get that off my chest. That, man, it's so pervasive in especially the older the older generation, the boomers, they are just totally they've been totally inundated their whole lives with this ethnomasochism, this hatred and this shame around our culture and our people and our history and our heritage. And it's, I'll tell you, from a historical perspective, it's a Trojan horse ideology that was taught to us by people that hate us, that want to see our culture disappear. They want to see our tribe disappear. They want to see our wealth and our land and our nation given over to foreigners. They want to see our daughters married off to foreigners. They want to see our sons kill themselves and die in wars that they shouldn't be in. They want to see our land and our wealth completely, expropriated, stolen from us. That's the macro. When you zoom out of the whole situation, you realize that the people that taught all of these things, they hate us and they want us to be gone. And that's truly the only reason why this ethnomasochism has been so heavily taught in all of our schools and in our media and our culture and everything. It's for no other reason. Because if you look, from a historical perspective, and you look at the macro, and you look at all tribes and all cultures and all civilizations and all empires, they all have similar stories. They conquered a people. They won land. They bought it. They won via warfare. And if you really look at all the peoples and all the tribes throughout history, our people were much more gracious and forgiving and understanding, and they wanted to integrate these different peoples into our culture and our societies much more than any other people around. So I would say it's a totally disingenuous way to look at our culture and our history, that we're the bad guys, we're the villains, we don't deserve any of this land, we don't deserve this wealth, we don't deserve prosperity and freedom, and we should give it away to foreigners. That's really the whole purpose and the whole reason for this ideology, is to dispossess us of our wealth. So instead of arguing with these boomers, if any of you guys out there are listening to this and you come across situations like this, especially with older folks, it sounds brutal, and it sounds kind of heartless or whatever, but these motherfuckers, they're gonna die. They're gonna die here in the next 10, 15 years. They'll die. And us, the younger generation, we are responsible for the future. And so let these fools die. Let them die in their ethnomasochism and their foolish, ridiculous ideology that has been pushed into their brains by people that hate us. Let them die. Let it die out, and we will rebuild. And like I said, the most important thing is what you teach your children and how you live your life. So, it's okay. It's okay that people think that. You can't even blame them. That's what they've been taught their entire lives. But upon more historical, with more context and more scrutiny of what we've been taught, you will very easily see that the West built the most. When we say West, we mean white people. That's all it means. Western civilization just means white people. We have built the most prosperous, free, amazing society, wealthy, powerful society ever, maybe ever. I mean, it's hard to say really, but it's pretty astonishing what our ancestors accomplished. And if we want our progeny, if we want our posterity, if we want the coming generations, our kin, if we want them to prosper and to live well and to have a high quality of life and to thrive, we must destroy this pathological ideology of ethnomasochism. We must eradicate it. It must never be spoken of. It must never be taught. And we must only teach our children that our ancestors were conquerors and that they were badass and that they created the best societies in the world, and that this land is ours. It's ours. Our kin died for it. They fought for it. They built it. They bought it for the most part. You know, with all this immigration stuff people are talking about, you know, we kicked the Mexicans' ass, kicked them the fuck out of California and Texas, and then we bought that land from the government of Mexico. So it's ours, you know, and never feel bad about it. Never feel sorry about it. You know, hail the gods, hail our kin, hail our folk. This is our land. This is our people. We deserve to exist. We deserve to have a nation. We deserve to be the majority in our country, not the minority. And yeah, hail the gods, hail our kin. That's all I gotta say. Mag of Cascadia is tuning out. I'm gonna eat some dinner with the family. Cheers.